Hey, this is Matt. Once again, we're about to another review. This is another paid request, this time from MegaPorkChopExpress. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics or commentaries or reactions or reviews, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for the 2005 film Hostage, starring Bruce Willis. Now, I know I've had a lot of people ask me about my thoughts on Bruce Willis, and he now has retired from acting. He has aphasia, which is a brain illness. This is something I've been hearing about for really a while now, because Fabio, the Italian Stallion 51, mentioned that Bruce Willis had a stroke maybe a year or two ago. And that's why I haven't really talked about Bruce Willis. I haven't really complained about him and so forth. And I did when he did that Die Hard Bowery commercial, I said the guy should just retire. And you know what? I mean, it's the right thing to do to retire, especially after this. I mean, it's sad in the fact of, he has a brain illness. I don't wish that on anyone. Aphasia, it's difficult to communicate, and it's difficult to communicate like me and you can do, and there could be memory loss, things of that nature, and I'm guessing it's because of that stroke from 2 years ago, however long it was. I'm a fan of a lot of his movies, first 4 Die Hard films. I like this film, The Last Boy Scout, Last Man Standing, The Fifth Element, among others. That still doesn't excuse his behavior before that, where he treated so many people like crap. He treated so many people terribly. He treated so many people like so many stories of people just getting emotionally crushed by Bruce Willis. Whether it be directors of Striking Distance and other movies, or just... This is a guy that so many people talk about how they talked to Bruce or they worked with Bruce, and he just felt like he was above you and you were beneath him. And I don't like him as a person. I don't like him as a human being. I like him as an actor. So yeah, I don't wish a brain illness on anyone. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I know this seems empty, but it's just my honest opinion. There's not much I can do about it. And there you go. But anyway, with Hostage, I always thought this was an underrated film. I always thought this was a pretty damn decent flick. I thought the comic book title intro was interesting. And the director, who sadly did not go on to do a lot of movies, he definitely had he definitely has a visual style to it. I mean, from the finale with Ben Foster walking down this hallway of fire with 2 Molotov cocktails to the beginning of the film where a guy has a hostage and he's on the phone and it pushes out of the window all the way back to showcase the building and the cops surrounding it. Seemingly done all in one take in this big pan out. As Bruce Willis is a hostage negotiator. And this is definitely one of Bruce Willis' most underrated performances. You see a lot of desperation on his face, a lot of emotion on his face, and this is a time when Bruce Willis' career, I mean, he had his success with The Sixth Sense and the whole 9 yards, and Armageddon, years before, but he was back to doing films that just were not doing well, including this film. This film was a complete bomb. I don't know why this film was such a bomb. I don't know why the critics were so harsh on this film. I think this is a very effective. It's an effective thriller with some action beats in it. And like I said, the director, I thought, did a nice job. Like, there's a bit at the beginning where there's desperation, and Bruce Willis trying to do anything he can to calm the guy inside down. You want to pray? Let's pray. Listen, I have to pray too. And there's a bit that he's running, trying to get into the house, and you just hear the guy's prayer, but Bruce Willis, you don't hear anything. As in this guy's mind, Bruce Willis's voice doesn't even matter. It's just this guy's prayer in his mind is all that matters to the world. And even though we're with Bruce Willis running to the house, sound-wise, we're in this other guy's mindset. That the only thing in the world he hears is his own words, his own prayer. While we're following Bruce Willis, and you can barely hear Bruce Willis's voice, and he's trying to do anything. Like, you really feel the desperation in Bruce Willis's character. And I will say with the aphasia thing, it does explain his, why he's making so many of these direct-to-video movies. It's because he wants as many paychecks as he can to live as comfortable as possible in retirement. Now, I know he did a lot of them, but I don't know how much money he gets with taxes taken out, and how long that will actually go. I don't know if that means eventually he'll have to go into a home if he needs that type of care. I don't know. But something bad happens. Years later, he's the chief of police of this small town. Still in California, but a smaller town. Him and his wife, maybe on the outs, maybe not. The daughter, has frustration. Bruce has his little team, including Art LaFleur, who sadly has passed away. Art LaFleur, if you remember the Blob remake from 1988, he's the guy who is the father of Shawnee Smith's character. Ribbed. If people know that movie, they know what I'm talking about. He was also in Cobra. He was one of the cops talking with Sylvester Stallone. Do what you do best. He's not in the film a whole lot, sadly. Just a little bit. But, he's just doing his rounds, and meanwhile, these three people, two of them, Jonathan Tucker, who's in the 2003 Chainsaw Massacre remake, and the other is Ben Foster, who was in this underrated one called Pandorum, and he's been in other films too. A good actor that has been, I would say, underutilized in Hollywood. The three of them decide to go into this rich house, which is a dad and two kids. The dad's played by Kevin Pollak, who's Arnold's partner in End of Days, and I think he was in also the whole 9 yards and the whole 10 yards. The Usual Suspects. It's been a lot of stuff. Another good, capable actor. The three go in, take them hostage. Unbeknownst to them, that Kevin Pollak works for even more bad guys, and there's supposed to be some drop-off with this info that's on this DVD, and it's all this thing trying to merge together where these three take the family hostage, and they've knocked out Kevin Pollak, and then these other bad guys need something in that house, and they wait for a certain time to get in there. So then they get Bruce Willis. They say, well, we have your family. You're going to be in control of the situation. No one can go in. No one can come out of this house. So it's like Bruce Willis has to deal with his family being in danger, but he doesn't want to sacrifice this family either. And then he's got to deal with the cops there and the FBI there. And then the little kid of the family is able to escape. Which is funny. He's going into air ducts. I'm like, wow, he's doing his own John McClane movie and a movie with Bruce Willis. Is this, what, Home Alone Hostage? How big is this fucking house? I mean, I know it's a big house, but would it still have those gigantic fucking air ducts? But, I mean, I know it's a big house, but, again, would it have these gigantic air ducts? I don't... It's a movie, I know. I'm like, man, this is a pretty cool sequel to Home Alone. This is the best sequel to Home Alone there is. And throughout it, Bruce Willis is given a wonderful central performance. Like when the masked men tell him to put his hands in the steering wheel and is handcuffed, and hey, calm down, we're going to hold you, it's for your own good, and he sees his family's tied up, and the emotion in Bruce Willis' eyes, and the fear, and the grief, and he sold it. He was in on this gun-ho 100%. And again, I know this I almost said alopecia. See, Jada Pinkett, this is an actual fucking serious thing. Aphasia. Not alopecia going bald, Jada Pinkett. Aphasia. But you didn't see Bruce Willis going up to an event slapping someone in the face. So, even then, I didn't say Bruce Willis is more of a man than Will Smith. But it once again shows Bruce Willis was a damn good actor when he wanted to be one. In the past, the direct-to-video films, I could give leeway now, knowing that he has his brain illness for 2 years, but how far along was that? Was that when, like, he did that film with 50 Cent, The Setup? That was like almost 10 years ago. How long has he had this aphasia? I'm guessing it's when the stroke happened 2 years ago. So I do think there were movies that he just didn't care, like some of those early direct-to-video films. Past 2 years, again, with how many he's making, I'd give leeway to as to why he did it, and his brain illness. That's not his fault. And I grew up with Bruce Willis. I grew up with a lot of his movies, and yeah, I mean, I don't condone him being a dick to people. I don't condone him treating people like shit. But yeah, I do feel bad what happened to Bruce Willis. It is shitty. It does suck. And you watch something like this, you go, man, this guy does have a lot of talent. Trying to get this situation under control with all these factors, with dealing with these three people and trying to talk to them, and Ben Foster's character is a fucking psycho, complete psycho, while Jonathan Tucker and his brother are well over their head. Dealing with them, phone calls from these people who have his family, the cops in between. It ratchets up. It does ratchet up with all these different factors merging together. And it kept me hooked. It kept me interested. I had not seen the film in a while. And I'm like, man, this is pretty damn good. Even when the bad guys who are under FBI garb go into the house, and you have this Ben Foster as this burning arsonist psycho throwing Molotov cocktails, while you have these other bad guys dressed as FBI shooting at him. And I think that's one of the few things I wish would happen was that in the house is a bit where Bruce Willis, like a badass, drives in with the vehicle. He's got the shotgun. I wish he used the shotgun on some of the bad guys. Or at least one moment when, the spoilers, where Ben Foster with the Molotovs are walking towards them. What I would have liked is that Ben Foster has a fascination with the teenage girl. And, in his sick mind, in love with her, all that stuff. So he could be looking at her, and he's dazed, and then Bruce Willis take the shotgun, shoot the Molotov, and then burn up Ben Foster. I think that would have been cool. That would have been more like, yeah. But instead, Ben Foster looks at her, and then he burns himself. And yet, I just would have preferred if Bruce Willis got the shotgun and shot the Molotov cocktail out of his hand, and then it burned it. I think with a bit of slow motion, I just think that would be a lot more of a satisfying piece. And it would have been nice if there was maybe some way to have it conclude in the house. I mean, on one hand, idea why, because the stuff with the house is burning up, he gets the kids out, but then has to deal with Cameron Pollack, and then has to go save his family. I get there's kind of, I don't know how else you could do that. So, I mean, I guess I'm fine with it, but it is one of those things, it does in a weird way feel like it's two endings. Like, you have one ending in the house, then you have a second, it's like two epilogues. So it does have that kind of weird feeling to it, but I could be fine with it because I get it, but at the same time, I think when I first saw it, I was like, wow, it does feel like it ended, and then, oh, it ends again. Because then you get this another showdown. But I guess in a case, it's kind of, you did the one ending where Bruce Willis is a savior, saving people, and then the other ending is Bruce Willis being a badass, killing some motherfuckers. So it's like, if you don't think Bruce Willis did anything here, at least Bruce Willis did something here, and he did. He did something both. He was saving people in one, and he was killing some stupid motherfuckers in the other. So I guess in a way you get the best of both worlds. And like I said, it's well directed. I understood the environment of the house. The kid wasn't too annoying. I did think they could have reworked the dialogue where I did why, like the kid, Bruce Willis asked him, like, do you watch TV or cartoons, whatever, and the kid brings up something, I was like Captain Zoom or Captain Xenon or something, woob wub, wuzzle wuzzle, I forget what it was, some weird words, and there's Bruce Willis saying these words in a dead serious manner, and I get it, it's him, this goofy thing this kid's into, and he's trying to relate to the kid, and Bruce Willis, he's being emotional because his family's in trouble, but he doesn't want this family to be in trouble. But the fucking words with the wubble wuzzle, what the fuck, the Xenon, Planet Xenon, it should have been something simple. Even if it's simple as, a warrior facing a dragon, or to save the princess, and hey, your sister's the princess, and it's like something a bit less goofy in terms of names and verbiage. I think that would have helped that scene more. I think that scene, they could have had a rewrite of the characters. Even if it was something that people know. I don't know, like 2005, what would a kid be into? I don't know, would a kid still be into, I don't know, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, but whatever cartoon, whatever, something, or even just a story in a book, a fairy tale. Not this Planet Xenon, whatever the hell. It just made it seem goofier than it should. But those are little nitpicks. Other than that, I don't have a lot of issues with the film. Like I said, it's one of Bruce Willis's most emotional, underrated performances. Ben Foster definitely has that creepy vibe with the hair, very black, slick, long hair, and eyes that would burn a hole through you. Actually, Ben Foster would have made a good Batman in this time period. He would have made a pretty good Batman or Batman Beyond. There you go. He made the Batman Beyond movie at that time. I think Ben Foster could have pulled it off. And as he was in, it was like all these things that just make you feel sorry for Bruce Willis's character, and sort of this balancing act of dealing with them, and it's like I gotta get this guy to trust me, so look at your security cameras, but then he's gotta like play both sides. I thought he did a nice balancing act, much better than the credits make it out to be. Again, I have no idea why the credits took a dump on this movie. I have no clue, but it shows how worth the shit credits are. Zilch and nada. So that's what's a hey, this movie gets 80% Rotten Tomatoes. So what? Most of those movies nowadays, Hostage is better. It's a better movie. And it was under 2 hours and didn't overstay its welcome. And even like some nice, I said, give credit to the director, which is sad that he didn't go on to do a whole lot. Even when, spoiler, when Bruce saves his family, and you see just the emotion in his face of just. I like that they had no sound in it. Just yes, we do cry, and yes, it is a real emotional response. But yet, if you film it the wrong way, even though it's legitimate, hearing someone cry could elicit laughter. Don't ask me why. I've done it as well. Just sometimes it does. But just to see his face breaking down, I mean, it just it does seem like this is a film Bruce really tried and wanted it to work and gave it his all. And sadly, nothing came of it because the film bombed. And it's a film no one talks about. No one ever talks about Hostage. But it's a pretty damn good thriller with some nice action beats. And like I said, Bruce Willis did a wonderful job with it. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.